Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is still Melvide, and today we're going to be talking about a Marksman Multishot crit build. I'll be honest, I had a really hard time creating a Marksman build that I found even remotely fun to play. For those of you who caught my stream, this was very obvious, where I even just straight up quit playing the Marksman at one point because I just did not like anything that I was building. This build I kind of stumbled into because I had a fly to the first, and I actually really enjoy it. Probably one of my favorite builds that I've done so far. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The core component of this build, the skill that first made me fall in love with it, is Multishot. Though we are going to end up having to have one skill for clear, Multishot in this case, and then one for single target, which will be detonating arrow. For Multishot, again, like I said, this is our primary clear skill. If you're proactive with it, you can easily clear from 1 to 2 screens away, which means that you're pretty much safe even if you don't have perfect defenses like I have on my character right now. I don't have all of my resists maxed, I don't have a ton of health, I don't have a ton of dodge, I don't have like any armor, but I am safe doing echoes simply because I can clear from so far away. So in terms of the skill tree, we're going to be grabbing the double shot nodes, as well as strong pull, and keep pushing them around. Strong pull gives you a ton more damage with the skill, even while lowering your attack speed. And pushing them around gives you knockback. These two skills combined really both amp your clear, since the lower attack speed doesn't really matter, while the knockback from pushing them around keeps things away from you. And then we're going to also pick up the crit chance and crit multi. This really amps the damage up even further. Whenever I was building this, did it the other way around. I did crit chance and crit multi first before strong pull and keep pushing them around. I do not recommend that. Your damage will feel just absolutely terrible until you grab at least strong pull. And then for the last 5 points or so that you have, there's 2 options. You can either go all in on sniping. This just provides you 7% more damage per node. Or if you have additional slow chance from something, your quiver, or if you've got it on a bow or on a ring or an idol, anywhere, then you can go with pinning shots, simply because it is significantly more damage while pinning shots is active. I recommend, though, against No Easy Way Out, which is the slow chance node inside the Multishot skill tree. It is just not enough at all in order to maintain pinning shots. So if your only access to slow is No Easy Way Out, then just remove it and go all in sniping until you can get slow chance from somewhere else. Our big single target damage skill is detonating arrow. Personally, I find this a bit fiddly to aim, so I still tend to use multi-shot until the boss gets a little bit lower in health, since while they're high health, their max are full health, the DPS difference is only slightly in favor of detonating arrow, but as the target's health goes lower, detonating arrow just massively outperforms multi-shot, as you'll see whenever we talk about the skills. Beast Slayer arrow, Lethal Blast, and Concentration are the first nodes you should grab for single target DPS. Lethal Blast in particular is the reason why low health targets are detonating arrow is bread and butter, since it deals more damage based on the target's missing health. And then quick detonation and weak spot pump up the damage with a little bit of with the extra crit chance, the crit multiplier, and then even applying crit vulnerability. we're using Shift as our movement ability, which is basically all the reason you need to have Shift in your rotation, since any build that can fit a movement ability should absolutely have a movement ability in it. We're going to grab Velocity for cooldown, Swift Recovery to help with our mana recovery, since with 3 points in Velocity and max points in Swift Recovery, you actually gain mana on use of Shift. We're going to grab some healing on use of Shift, and then Jade Arrows plus the crit multi for Jade Arrows. Personally, I like 2 Jade Arrows, but if you aren't at 100% crit yet, then you may want more uses of the Jade Arrow just to round out your crit chance. Our 4th skill specialization is Smoke Bomb. This is one of 2 defensive skills that we're using, and honestly probably the weaker of the 2. So with this, we're going to maximize Dusk Shroud stacks with Rapid Concealment just to give us the most Dusk Shroud we can get while we're in there. We're going to grab Duration and Growth Speed just to maximize the area that's covered and for how long it's covered. And then last, we're going to grab Shadow Hunter. Particularly if you're not at 100% crit, this is super important. If you are at 100% crit while outside of Smoke Bomb, then it's basically your choice of what to go, though I probably think that the increased area is probably the strongest, just to make sure you have more room to maneuver. Our final skill specialization and the second defensive skill we're grabbing is Decoy. With this, we're going to grab the dodge chance while the decoy is active, plus ambush, which gives us crit multi for shortly after the decoy explodes, based on our dodge rating while the decoy was active. These 2 really combine quite nicely to provide some safety and some massive offensive ability. We're also going to grab the explosions on hit, as well as the cold conversion and freeze multi to add. This adds a little bit of extra safety, given that it can freeze enemies. Our passives are pretty straightforward. The Rogue Tree is nearly 100% defensive, other than Swift Assassin, which gives us some attack speed and some physical damage. The Marksman Tree is nearly 100% offensive, with a focus on crit as well as the buffs that you get on using a bow skill. Defensively, we're mostly focused on dodge, so picking up as much dodge chance and dexterity in the passives that you can is really important, since that's basically all that the Marksman Tree has to offer in terms of defense. Sniper's Gambit is kind of viewer choice. I like it because it is just a ton of flat physical damage, but if your dodge chance isn't there or you don't feel comfortable, using Multishot to be able to keep things away, then the increased damage taken from close enemies is kind of a risk. So those points take or leave if you feel you can use them better. And then Sharpshooter is super important. I kind of recommend getting the 5 points in Sharpshooter as soon as you can, simply because at max stacks it's 250% increased damage, which is quite a lot, and really sort of means that you can worry less about increased damage on your equipment and focus more on your crit scaling or even your flat damage scaling. For items, there's one unique that I really want to point out that I think is super important for this build, and that is Flight of the First. This is a unique bow. It gives you a ton of crit chance, and I mean a ton. Up to 9% added crit chance, and a minimum of 8%, bringing your base crit chance to either 13 or 14% depending on the roll. And then the buff, Flight of the Ancients, gives you just a straight 100% increased crit chance, which means that the bow alone gives you up to 28% crit chance with only the bow, which is huge. The only kind of downside to this bow is that the buff has a fairly short uptime. It's about 2 seconds. So stutter stepping is really crucial. If you're not familiar with stutter stepping, basically just move somewhere after every attack. Typically try and kite, which means you're going to be doing a lot of mouse movement. But even just moving forward a step or a half step is super important in terms of keeping the buff active, as well as making sure that you're maximizing the passive from the rogue tree, which gives you less % damage taken while moving. The buff kind of also just accidentally provides 100% crit avoidance. So don't be like me and craft crit avoidance on your belt. Instead of, resist or health or hybrid health or literally anything else. So just remember that if you're using this bow, you have 100% crit avoidance, essentially so long as you're moving and attacking. Now, generally, for what you want from your items, bow damage is good. Crit chance, up to 100% crit chance with detonating arrow is also really good. And I specify detonating arrow because Multishot has so much increased crit chance that you're going to hit max crit chance with Multishot way before you will with detonating arrow. And then crit multi, once you hit that 100% crit chance with your skills, is also amazing. Flight of the First, relatively low flat damage, does mean that getting flat damage on either a legendary flight or a quiver is really important. Provides a massive boon. If you can, get physical, simply because that's what Multishot uses, but literally any kind of flat damage is fantastic. Make sure you've got enough resists. This applies for every build. Preferably max, but I'm running not quite a max on Necrotic and Void, and it seems to be going fine, since with those particular damage types, they're either going to one-shot you kind of regardless of what your max, whether or not you're maxed on resists, or they're going to deal low enough damage that your leech will be able to take care of it. Dexterity is a nice combination of both offense, since it scales your skills, and defense because it increases your dodge chance. And since we're going to have preferably quite a lot of dexterity on our equipment, getting some flat dodge on your equipment somewhere is really nice, just to really boost the boost that dexterity gives you. And then obviously getting health is super important. So sneak in health wherever you can. Health is just a huge help to, again, every build, kind of like maxing your resists. For the idols, I've actually not found anything that is super compelling. So basically use the idols to fill in kind of whatever gaps your build currently has. If you need health, grab some health idols. If you need crit chance to bring you to max with detonating arrow, then grab some crit chance idols. If you need resist, put resist on it. If you want just bow damage, then put bow damage. There's one that kind of mimics a buff that you get off of the Marksman tree. I'm blanking on it right now, but it's percent increased attack speed for 3 seconds, like every 10 seconds. If you've got one of those are kind of nice, even though it does basically just work with the passive that you've got from the Marksman tree. For blessings, preferably get most of your resists from these. There's not really any offensive ones that are amazing for the build. The crit multi one from Raya is probably the best offensive option. If you don't need the void resistance, then take that one. There's a option for like physical resist shred which is great until you realize that detonating arrow deals lightning damage rather than physical, so that doesn't really help your single target that much, and kind of vice versa with the lightning resist shred that you get from Lagon, where that doesn't help your multi-shot very much. So yeah, resists here, and then crit multi only if you don't need the void resistance. And then it probably goes without saying, but in terms of like the drop chance ones, bow drop chance is great, particularly if you don't have either a flight of the first at all, or if you're lacking a flight of the first with some LP like I am. Hopefully the bow drop chance will get you one of those in short order. That brings us to the end of this build template, build guide, whatever you want to call it. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, my name is Melfeed, and if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. If you want to see me iterate on builds or just work through the game, then please check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Melvide, Melvide. I try and stream every weekday, though I haven't been super successful with that on this week, but hopefully next week will be much better. And then please let me know in the comments down below what Marksman builds you've tried, because I tried several of them, just working off of my own intuition rather than looking at a build guide. So if you've got a Marksman build that you really enjoyed, that you think I would either enjoy more than this, or that you think that I missed while leveling up the Marksman, then please let me know. I really enjoy archer classes in most games, so I'm kind of disappointed that I've really only found one flavor of the rogue Marksman in this game that I even remotely enjoy. So again, let me know in the comments down below if you have any suggestions for me to try out.